Hey y'all, it's Lauren. I'm coming to you from my bedroom, and clearly it's 10 a.m. in the morning, and so I just took a shower, and yeah, so I'm gonna just pop in the chat really quick over here and just let you guys know that we're ready to get started. Give me 1 second to do that. Awesome. So it is Q2. Q1 is over. Holy cow, how did it even happen? I hope the first quarter was good to you. I hope that you all got some of your goals going, and I hope that you made some progress on some of the larger goals. So what I wanted to talk about today, and how I wanted to take you through kind of goal setting through Q2, which runs April through June. Yep, 3 months. Is I wanted to kind of discuss how, just in general, some tips and tricks that you can take to review Q1, see how Q1 went in your overall goals for the year, and then revise, revisit, maybe delete some of the goals that you made in Q1 and were like, that's not even happening. My business or my life is so different now, and so I want to make some edits, and then how you can go forward through Q2. So one of the biggest things about goal setting, one of the biggest things about being in business, one of the things that's so important about being strategic is knowing when to let something go, to kind of just like get it out and be like, I'm done with that. And then knowing when to kind of dig in a little bit more and kind of hold something in your hand and say, okay, this is the direction I really, really want to go in. And usually what happens at the end of the year, because the point of this was to do this on a quarterly basis, was at the end of the year before our last review in Q3 going into Q4. The point was to really just say, I want to make sure that I'm just noticing what's going on through the year and accounting, being accountable to myself and accountable to my business. So it's not to say that this is all going to happen overnight. It's not to say that the goals you set in January are going to be the goals that you want to achieve in December. But it's the most important part of this piece is to just check in with yourself, check in with your business, check in with your employees if you have them, and see where you are kind of in your landscape and revise and edit, because 12 months is a really long time to set a goal and then to achieve it by the end of the year. And if you don't do the monthly check-ins, you usually get lost. Monthly or quarterly check-ins usually get lost in that. Cool. So the way this is going to work is I am going to go through our this that we have with all my notes. I'm going to go through that on my screen. I'm going to give you guys some prompts. I'm going to show you just kind of how to go through your goal setting. I'm going to walk you through it, and then if you're watching the replay, you can kind of come back to this and say, okay, cool, I have my replay, or I have my kind of strategy. I'm going to go through it with the video and kind of sit down and take, half an hour or an hour, and really, really dig into my goals for Q2. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to flip my screen around really quick, and then we're just going to go through, I have a couple housekeeping things. If you do have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, which I don't know how you're watching this, but I think it's to the left. Left is that way. So go ahead and do that if you have any questions. And then I'm happy to answer those. If you have any questions and you're watching the replay, feel free to email me. Yeah, so let's get started. I'm going to switch my screen around. We're kind of going to jump around a little bit. Unfortunately, the way that this kind of our workbook works, it's not. It's just hard to kind of like do it linearly because goal setting is obviously so amorphous. So we're going to jump a little bit. So, all right, screen share. Give me 1 second. Okay, cool. So hopefully you can see my screen. I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit so that you're not like straight up, you don't get like blurred by the my scrolling, because I scroll pretty fast. So what I want you to do right now, if you're doing this on the replay, is I want you to take a second, I want you to kind of put your pen down, maybe put your hands on your knees, maybe kind of just get into a comfortable position. If you're sitting in a chair, maybe leaning your back against the back of the chair, putting both feet on the floor, and just taking a moment to get comfortable, to understand that, you know, this requires attention. So maybe before you do that, close any windows, any browsers, turn your phone off, put it across the room, and just get ready. If you need more than a second to do that, feel free to pause the video and just take a second to get grounded in where you are. And put your attention on this goal setting piece. I think that's part of it, is that a lot of people think, you know, I can just, you know, I'll set some goals and then I'll be good. I really want you to put your attention to this. So do what you have to do to kind of get focused on the next half hour, 45 minutes of goal setting for Q2. And maybe that means sitting in your chair, inhale through your nose, and then exhale through your mouth. And then doing that 2 more times, just really kind of like calming yourself, getting into a good space where you can be clear, hopefully you're not thinking about anything else. So, okay. So hopefully you've kind of taken a second. And now what I want you to do is I want you to flip to, let's start here. I want you to flip to, actually, yeah, let's flip to your 20 things. So I just want you to take a big review of kind of your 20 things if you filled this out. I want you to look at your theme for the year. What is that word? What's that one word that you picked? And then look at kind of your other top 4 priorities. How have those priorities changed, if they've changed? Or how are you working on those top 4 priorities? Cool. So now that we have this in our head, now that we know, okay, so for me, my theme of the year was develop. That was kind of my big word. And how that looks for me is adventure, growth, stability, and truth. And so some of my 20 things on adventure were like take a solo vacation, learn how to fly fish, all that kind of stuff. Whereas growth is more attend a conference is one that I want to do. You know, hire an employee, that's a growth piece. Stability, you know, nailing down an income goals every month, putting in places, you know, processes for my business, rolling out new services. These are all kind of like stability pieces to kind of, you know, for me in business to kind of keep myself moving forward. And then truth is more about like, you know, having good conversations with friends once a week. So those are kind of my themes, and then kind of how I'm doing those. So once you've kind of like looked through that, maybe cross out anything that you don't want to do anymore, or so it doesn't resonate anymore, and then maybe write in something that does. Awesome. So after this, I want you to scroll down to your action planning, your Q1, this page. I don't actually know what page it is because I'm silly and I didn't do this, but so look at your action planning page. I'm gonna take a second and get you to flip there. So taking a look at January, February, March. Don't even like think about April, May, June. I don't think we did it kind of together. But look at January, February, March, and kind of see where you're at. What was the project, the big project you wanted to do in January? And what was the self-care piece? Did that happen? Did you do that? Did you make that work? Same thing for February. What was the project you had written down that you wanted to do? And what was the self-care piece? And then same thing for March. And then if you're more of a quarterly person, I'm kind of a quarterly person, but if you kind of synthesize these 3 months over here into Q1, review that. You know, you can stay over here and kind of see what happened. You know, did I do this? You know, for me, it was launch my first course. I did not do that, but I made some really good headway on it. And I think it's definitely going to be a reality in Q2. So that feels good. So just kind of see, no work needs to get done right now. We're just in the reviewing phase, in the reviewing process. And then what we're going to end up doing is we'll go here in a second, but we're not quite there yet. All right, so we've done that. And then I want you to flip over to your Q1 goals. So the goals that you set, what habits did you put in place? What action items did you want to do? So for me, my Q1 goals were launching my course. So it was building a web page for it, creating a marketing plan, looking at affiliate programs, write 5 blog posts. And the habits that I needed to do to create that was to sit down and write 20 minutes every day. And to create a blog schedule every week. I wasn't great at it every single week, but it's in my calendar. I sit down in the mornings and I do my best. And then, I notice the habits are starting to become more real. It's not there. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not all the way there. But it's happening. My second goal was to create a free email opt-in course. I did that, which was awesome. And the goal is growing my mailing list to, I wanted it to be 1,000. I'm not there yet. I'm at about 5. I guess between both my lists, I'm at about 700. But so, it's fine. I'm close. I'm closer than I was 3 months ago, which is great. And okay, cool. Like that, that happened. So look at your goals and kind of review them. You don't have to be done with them. It kind of could be something where you're like, wow, I just didn't get to that yet. Awesome. And then I want you to look at, if you did a reminder list, this is more for my monthly folk. If you're a monthly person, I want you to take a look at this. If you're a quarterly person, this is probably going to be, how you're going to use your review. So I do both a monthly and quarterly. So here's your monthly list. I want you to just take a quick look at that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to review. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes, maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. And I want you to do a monthly review, and I want you monthly or quarterly. If monthly is not your thing, if you kind of want to just stay in the quarterly vein, let's do that. So after you've looked at your goals, you've looked at kind of your Q1 goals, you remember what they were. Sometimes that's really hard. It's like, I don't even remember what they were. So you looked at your Q1 goals. And if you want to change this to quarterly, let's go, quarterly review. And then you can put Q1 in here. And then what I want you to do is I want you to take the next 2 or 3 minutes. I usually like to use music, but maybe not. But I'm going to give you about 2 or 3 minutes. I want you to do number 1, what went well. So I want you take out a pen, or if you're on your computer and you don't have your sheet available, maybe just like take out a note or just a blank document, and write down what went well for Q1 based on the business goals that you have, based on the goals that you set in January. So I'm going to do it too. So if you hear scratching and writing, that's great. And actually, I might put on a song because sometimes it's a little bit easier for me to work toward too. So take the next 2 or 3 minutes and do that. Okay. So hopefully you had a little bit of time to go through and do that and talk about what went well. I wish this was more interactive, but for me, the things that went well was I kind of stripped away some of the things in my business that weren't working. January and February were really tough, but I got a lot of time to kind of like sit back and reflect. I tried some new things. I tried co-working Wednesdays with the Boss Lady community, which is fun. And got to do a couple different projects. I worked with, collaborated with Megan Armstrong on a branding workshop, which was really fun. So there's all kinds of things that were new. I think there's a lot of newness in Q1 for me, and in Q2, I want to keep that newness going on, but potentially streamline it a little bit. So, all right, so let's move to question 2. So what went well? What was really challenging? Usually I say like what didn't go so well, but let's keep it. I wanted to try and keep this question positive. So what was challenging about Q1? Or if you're monthly, again, you can do this for March. What was challenging? What was hard? How? Why? Why was it hard? Write down maybe take like a minute or two and write down a couple sentences about what was challenging. Take about 1 more minute to kind of go through that. For me, some of the things that were great where I got to spend a lot of time with friends. I skied a lot. I did a lot of like social and personal growth development, which was really great. But what that meant in terms of business for me was that it was really challenging for me to feel this kind of like lack of momentum in my business. I missed my income goal for January and February. I made it up in March, but I missed an income goal, which, that's hard. I felt stuck. Personally, I felt stuck in kind of this place that I felt a little bit pigeonholed. And I was ready for growth. I want more time, I want more money, I want more, but it felt like I was kind of staying at the same plateau that I had in 2015, which is a hard feeling to have when you want to grow, and you're not quite sure for me personally, I'm not quite sure like what that means, like what growth means. So yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next one. What was the biggest lesson that was learned? The biggest thing that you kind of realized about yourself, about your business, about your family, about what have you. This can be any piece. And this might even be one that's better for monthly, if you're more of a monthly reviewer. Biggest lessons can be anywhere along the lines of personal. I know that I need to rest on the weekends. I know that I need to stop running my wheels or spinning my wheels so much. I know that I need to reach out to connect to people more often, whatever those things are. I was lucky enough to go down and visit. My dad is living in Florida for the winter because he's a northerner. So I was lucky enough to go down to Florida kind of at the middle of Q1. And sometimes, for me anyway, I learned that it's really important and necessary for me to, when I'm in the middle of kind of a big shift or kind of a plateau, it's really nice for me to go and ground and kind of realize like, I need, to kind of take my shift away from like being in my business all day and kind of being like, okay, moving forward. So I realized that every quarter I need to take a little break from business and go somewhere, whether that's a road trip, whether that's to visit family, but I need to just get out of my own head and out of my own work and business life. So that was a really big lesson for me in Q1. All right, so let's move on. Favorite thing to remember, this is really just something that I love because I think sometimes throughout the year, sometimes throughout, and I like to do this every month, this part, the last two pieces. My favorite thing to remember, because I think you can go throughout the year and be like, gosh, I did so many cool things this year, but I don't remember any of them. So I would say one per month or maybe 3 total. Write down 3 of the favorite things, your favorite memories, the 3 of the things that you really, really loved about this quarter. If you can do one for each month, that'd be great. January, February, March. If you want to do just 3 overall that you're like, this, I'm so glad that this happened. I'm really excited about this. I want to remember this. Write those down. So let's take maybe like 2 minutes and do that. Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Hopefully you had some good ones. And then, oops, let me scroll down here. The last one. What values or goals do I need to focus on next month? So now that we've kind of reviewed the last quarter, what needs to get focused on next month or next quarter? You know, for me, like I said, Q1 was really personal. I got to do a lot of cool personal things, but I think it definitely hurt in terms of streamlining my business, rolling out some of the business things I wanted to do, and really finding the balance between the two. So for me, I definitely need to focus on being better at balancing. And what that means is creating systems, sitting down and blogging every day, like a lot of more work-related stuff. So I would love for you guys to take a minute for the next quarter. What do you need to focus on? Is it streamlining? Is it, you know, being strategic? Is it like literally being like, okay, this month I'm going to do this, you know, this is my goal for the next 3 months, like strategically, and everything that I do is going to be because of that. So take 2 or 3 minutes and do that. Peace. Cool. Okay. So for me, I need to streamline my process, and I need to focus on 1 goal every month instead of 10 goals. And I need to focus on launching. Those are the 2 things I need to focus on in the next quarter. Awesome. So now that we reviewed, now that we've done all the fun stuff, I want you to flip to, where's Q2? Oh, no, it's up here, sorry. We've got our Q1 goals. Where's the Q2? It's here somewhere. There it is. Mine's all out of order, like in my actual written one. So now let's do some goal setting around for Q2. So pull out your worksheet. This worksheet says Q2 goals. So based on the last thing we just answered, let's make it a little bit more tangible. So, you know, what values or goals do I need to focus on next month? If you need a second, I'm going to give you like a little bit more time for this one, and hopefully I can get some music going so that it's not like dead silent. So, but for Q2, what kind of things do you need to kind of move toward your overall yearly goals? If you need to take a kind of step back and look back at page 1, like all the way at the top here, sorry I'm going so fast, but this one, if you need to look at your theme and your biggest business goals in order to kind of recalibrate and say, okay, you know, this is what I need to do going into Q2, do that. That's great. But otherwise, let's go into Q2. Sorry, I'm scrolling fast. Okay. Here we are, 24, page 24. So go to Q2. Think about 2 goals that you have, how these support your big overall dream, big overall kind of core thing, develop. For me, it's develop. So how is the goal for next quarter supporting me? And what are some action items to get there? And maybe what are some habits that you have to kind of go forth. So let's start with that. So let's just think about goals. What are 2 goals that you have for Q2? I think that's a good amount. Like big dream goals. Awesome. So hopefully you've gotten your goals down. If you need more time in the action items, that's totally fine. You can absolutely do that. And if the habits piece is holding you back, like for me, for example, one of my goals is I'm launching this thing called the Boss Lady Supper Club. And it's a kind of a 6-month business growth program. So the action items need to happen are write a sales page, create a marketing plan, reach out to people who I think would be perfect for it, things like that. So those are the action items. And the habits that need to happen for that is to really like play in my community, to really like, maybe like meet with people one-on-one, which I already do, but that's like a habit that needs to kind of like be brought to the forefront. Maybe it's, again, like continuing with my writing practice, my 20-minute daily writing practice, that needs to get done. Maybe it's going outside of my comfort zone and attending events that I don't feel comfortable, I don't know people, I don't feel comfortable in. So those are some of the habits. Maybe it's, for you, maybe your goal is to run more webinars. So maybe the habit is to practice on your family and friends first. Maybe it's like, I'm going to run a webinar and I'm just going to, introduce, 3 people to this webinar and, whatever. I don't know what the habits are, but what your habits are, but, what are things that you can do every single day to make small progress to lead up to this big goal? Nice. All right, so let's move on. If you haven't done both of them, that's okay. Feel free to pause the video and go forward and do that. And then what I want to do is I want to go back to this piece. So now that we've done our Q2 overall 2 big goals, you can put those big goals here on the side right here in Q2. So for me, it's launch the Boss Lady Supper Club. And then the other thing is to plan out and or start running Boss Lady events in 3 other communities in Montana. So those are my two big Q2 goals. And so looking at kind of a monthly breakdown, how do I break that down? So for me, April, my big project for April is going to be conceiving of writing a sales page, putting collateral down, like doing a marketing plan, writing out, the 6-month kind of actual content for this supper club scenario. So that's my big project for April. And then again, you know how I feel about self-care. I know that's going to be a lot of work. And so what are some things that I can do to make sure that I don't get lost in the weeds? So for me, I'm actually on vacation tomorrow, so that's going to be my self-care for April. May, that's going to be another month full of 1, 3, 4 events, but how do I get that to support my big goal for Q2? So that's planning a Boss Lady Bash potentially in Helena that last week in May or June. And then same thing, June. What's going on? What's my calendar look like? What do I have going on? In June. So I want you guys to take a couple seconds, couple of minutes, and do those 3 things. What are my big goals for April, May, and June? And how am I going to take care of myself? Whether it's a day off, whether it's time with your family, vacation. So take a couple minutes and do those 3 things. Cool. Awesome. All right, so we've kind of gotten Q2 out of the way. And if you need more time, of course, feel free to take more time. That's totally fine. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to look at your accountability page. I only had one of these pages, but I want you to look at that accountability page and I want to say, okay, who are my mentors? Review them. Maybe they're different from what they were in the beginning of the year. How are you going to track your goals? Review that. And thinking about what worked in terms of tracking and what didn't. How are you going to celebrate your successes? One small step that you can take right now, today, whether it's sending an email, whether it's writing, a brain dump in your journal. What are one small step for each of your top 3 goals, maybe one for April, May, and June. And then reviewing, this is what, when you're feeling completely hopeless and stuck, this is what you'll do. Cool. So this can either be brand new or this can be a review, a checklist, kind of check off, okay, yep, this is still good, this is still good, or I want to change this. This is what I want to do going forward. And then the next thing I want you to do is I would really, if you have the space for April already, I would love for you to kind of write down, what do you want to do every month? This month. Maybe it's taking some of those things from your Q2 planning here. Where is that Q2? So taking some of these things, these action items from your Q2 goals and moving it up to this here and putting okay, here is 3 things that I can do this month. Write down 3 things you want to do every week. Maybe it's me, usually I have a coffee date a week. That's my goal. Or a good phone call a week, or a blog post a week. And then looking at your daily goals. What are your daily goals? These are usually, I like to call these micro goals. These are things that don't take a lot of effort. They're not going to dissuade me from, throw me off for the rest of the day. But what are the daily goals that you have? Maybe it's reviewing your calendar. Maybe it's reviewing your workload. Maybe it's all this kind of stuff. So look at your daily goals, kind of see what's up with that. Cool. So this is all that I have for you guys today in terms of planning for 2016 Q2. I would love for you to sit down and work on kind of the monthly, weekly, and daily goals, things that are important to you and you kind of want to go forward and do. If you have any questions about goal setting, if you have kind of any idea about, what you're going, what you want to do and you don't know how to get there and you don't know how to break the steps down, totally fine. Feel free to send me an email. Otherwise, I will see you. I think June 30th is going to be our next one, which is the end of Q2 going into Q3, which I know is challenging for people because it's almost summer, but it's Thursday, June 30th, and I will add that to the next follow-up email. Awesome. So let me just switch my screen back around. I don't know if that's, there we go. Awesome. So I will see you guys in June. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was helpful, feel free to send me an email and tell me so. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email and do that. I will talk to you next quarter. And hopefully here's to a really great Q2 and an awesome 2016. Bye.